I spent 8 years by her side, watching her grow, only for her to turn and fall into another's arms. She once saw me as her guiding light, but she abandoned me the moment she was reunited with her first love. And I, who silently protected her, ultimately fulfilled my vow through my actions, redeeming the broken man I once was. Her childhood sweetheart, missing for years, was found. He'd lost his memory from the trauma, and now he called Ava his girlfriend. And Ava never corrected him. You have family and friends who dote on you, but he had no one but me. She had long forgotten what I once told her. I was the one who would end our relationship. If you ever stopped loving me, I would disappear from this world. She was once the only one for me. Later, Ava and her first love had a wedding, a small, warm, and intimate affair. As for me, I was sunk to the bottom of the river by the killer, left to be consumed by the icy water. When my disfigured corpse was laid out on Ava's autopsy table, she, a woman known for her unshakable composure, found her hands trembling too violently to even hold a scalpel. Continuous heavy rain across the state. Residents are advised to travel with caution. The windshield wipers swept away the condensation, and my mind began to drift. I thought about the recent string of murders, all of which had, without exception, occurred during this rainy season. As an experienced medical examiner, Ava's life was a constant shuttle between the morgue and the hospital, so busy she couldn't even find a moment to call me back. The only message she'd left me on iMessage was a single sentence. County Clerk's Office, 2 p.m. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. The system sighed in my ear. 8 years of effort, all down the drain in a single day. James, do you really not regret any of it? I answered with a bitter smile. How could I not? After 8 years, I've grown accustomed to having Ava in my life. To me, she was a friend, a lover, a part of my family. I can't just pretend it's nothing and move on. I'd only be lying to myself. I waited outside the county clerk's office all afternoon, not leaving until the rain finally stopped. The appointed time had passed 2 hours ago. I rubbed my numb legs and dialed Ava's number again. As always, it went to voicemail. I had no choice but to turn the car around and head for the Houston Police Department. Ava rarely went to social events, so I'd never met any of her colleagues. When they first saw me, the officers all wore grim expressions. The tension on their faces eased slightly when they heard I was there for Ava. "Oh, you're looking for Ava," one of them said. "She's at the hospital with her stepbrother. His mental state isn't great. He loses control whenever it rains, and Ava's the only one who can calm him down." The moment I heard stepbrother, I knew he was talking about Ethan, Ava's long-lost first love. He was the sole survivor of the 5 victims in the recent serial killer case. My breath turned to white mist in the cold air, and my numbed fingers began to tremble. Just then, my phone vibrated. The caller ID showed Ava's name. "I waited for you at the county clerk's office for 2 hours," I said, my voice tight. Her own voice was cool and detached, as if she couldn't hear the anger simmering in mine. "Sorry, work ran late," she said. "Let's reschedule. You should go home." Of course, it was always work. That word was a wall, instantly damming the flood of emotions rising inside me, leaving me suffocated and with no release. She spent her days dissecting dismembered bodies, staring death in the face. She had grown numb to everything. As her husband, I was supposed to be her rock, her unwavering support. But with every concession I made, my understanding slowly morphed into enabling her. And she, in turn, began to take it all for granted. "Ava, does that feel good?" A young man's ragged breathing suddenly cut through from her end of the line. I let out a low, cold laugh. "What's this? Have the corpses in your morgue learned to talk now?" I could almost picture her expression icing over. "James, stop with the sarcasm." "Fine," I said. "Then come out and face me." I suppressed my anger, but my tone was firm, making her pause. "I'm right outside the station. Do you have the guts to come out and see me?" The silence on the line stretched on. We both knew the answer. "James, he's not like you," Ava said, her voice dropping to a whisper. I could hear her footsteps quicken, as if she was afraid Ethan might overhear. "You have family and friends. Ethan's parents divorced a long time ago, and his mother passed away 2 years ago. He was kidnapped as a child and has spent his life just trying to survive. James, he only has me now. The moment that subtle, broken tremor in her voice reached my ears, I had a sudden realization. In our 8 years together, she had never shed a single tear for me. But the day she was reunited with Ethan, she had thrown my hand aside without a second thought, pulling him into a tight embrace and sobbing as if her heart was being torn from her chest. They said they couldn't reach my parents. Ethan said, his voice weak. "You're the only one who came to see me. Are you my girlfriend?" He was rail-thin, with hollow cheeks and features so sharp they were almost frightening. With his arm around Ava, his gaze slid over me as if I were a complete stranger. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a jagged scar on his forearm. "See," he said, "I even carved your name here. Ava." Ava's fingertips gently traced the scabbed wound, her lips trembling. Her pale hand found his, their fingers lacing together. "I am," she whispered. She spoke the words like a sacred vow. The moment the hospital room door clicked shut, I didn't get an explanation from Ava. Instead, what I got felt like a knife twisting in my gut. The words struck me right in the heart. "James, let's get a divorce," she said. "Ethan may not remember, but I do. I can't make him feel like a third wheel." Her tone was final, leaving no room for discussion. She didn't say a word about our 8 years together, as if my devotion all this time meant nothing. The words caught in my throat, a suffocating lump I couldn't swallow. Seeing my eyes turn red, Ava's frown deepened. "Can you please not overthink this?" she pleaded. "Ethan is my stepbrother. He's a patient. He's mentally fragile right now and can't handle any more stress. Once he's better, I'll explain everything to him, and we can get remarried." She sighed. "You're almost 30, James. Stop acting like a child, competing for attention. Can't you be more mature?" My knuckles turned white as I clenched my fists. My voice was barely a whisper. "Ava, do you remember the vows we made at our wedding?" A nurse calling for Ethan's family to sign some forms down the hall drowned out my question. Ava rubbed her temples as she walked away. "James, don't bring up the past," she muttered. "That won't work on me." Her words shattered the last sliver of hope I had. On our wedding day, we had vowed to each other to love only one person for the rest of our lives, to never betray that love. If we broke that vow, we would be fated to lose our truest love and find no peace in death. She had broken her promise. My throat tightened as I whispered, "Ava, aren't you afraid? Or were your vows just an act from the very beginning?" My thoughts were a tangled mess as the rain drummed against the window. I finally asked the question, "Ava, when are we filing the divorce papers?" "What?" Her voice on the other end was laced with pure shock. "When are we getting divorced?" I repeated. "So you've finally come to your senses," she said, her tone a strange mix of surprise and disbelief. "I have," I said. "Once we're divorced, I'll be out of your life for good." "Are you insane?" she snapped, her voice suddenly sharp. "James, don't make jokes like that." Ava, who always chose her words so carefully, rarely spoke like that. She only used my full name when she was truly furious. I used to live in fear of making her angry, terrified she would walk away and never come back. "I'm not joking," I said calmly. "I'm just not afraid anymore. Once a mirror is shattered, who bothers to pick up the pieces?" My resolve clearly infuriated her. "Divorced? And then what, James? Where will you go? Back to the mother who abandoned you? Or the father who hasn't given a damn about you in 8 years? Get real. Who wants someone from a broken home?" The words hung in the air, and she immediately fell silent, realizing she'd gone too far. I let out a low, humorless laugh. "What right do you have to lecture me about family?" I said, enunciating every word. "Is your father's affair something you're proud of?" "Oh, and I almost forgot." I deliberately ignored her sharp gasp and added slowly, "At least you have your little group of friends you can share everything with, right?" "James!" she screamed, completely losing the composure she was so famous for. I laughed. After 8 years, we knew exactly how to get under each other's skin. It was like our bones were fused together. Even if you shattered them, the sinew would still hold. We both knew exactly which words would cut the deepest. The ugly argument came to a screeching halt with her final words. The day after tomorrow, 9 a.m., county clerk's office. Then, the line went dead. I gripped the steering wheel, watching the rain stream down the windshield. It was relentless, endless. As the fire of my anger slowly died down, all that remained was a bone-deep cold. The charm hanging from the rearview mirror swayed gently. The hourglass I had given her was gone, replaced by a tiny book charm. I remember the photo in Ava's wallet, the one of Ethan holding that exact same book. It was as if all my memories were being silently overwritten by someone else's. In the end, she couldn't even be bothered to separate the past from the present. A sudden honk from behind jolted me. "James, you've taken a wrong turn," the system whispered in my ear. I finally snapped out of it, realizing my vision was completely blurred by tears. It turned out I was the only one trapped in the past all along. "James, I only look to the future," Ava's words echoed in my head. Her gaze was always fixed forward, never content to stay in one place. I pulled over, leaned my seat back, and fumbled in the glove compartment for a pack of cigarettes I hadn't touched in years. Smoke drifted from the cracked window, mingling with the damp air. I stood beside the car until the ember in my hand died out. I couldn't tell if the wetness on my face was from the rain or from my tears. April, the day Ava had scheduled our divorce, was also my birthday. My family always said the day I was born was the beginning of all their misfortune. A loveless couple, forced to stay married because of an accident named me, were left with nothing but mutual torment. The first real birthday I ever had was with Ava. She baked me a cake from scratch. While cutting it, she accidentally sliced her finger. I panicked, but she just laughed it off. "James, don't listen to your parents' nonsense," she'd said. "You were never a burden. In fact, through all the hard times I've faced, you were always the best part of it." The cake melted on my tongue, impossibly sweet. It was better than any dessert I've had since. To this day, nothing has ever tasted as good. Rummaging through the glove box, I found the old hourglass. It was covered in dust. The fine white sand was clogged with grime, stuck in the glass, unable to move. My mind drifted back to the day I first met Ava. We were at the beach. The winter ocean was cold enough to cut you, and on that empty stretch of sand, it was just the two of us. One of us wanted to die, the other was desperately clinging to life. She walked straight into the waves and was quickly submerged. Without a second thought, I ran in after her and dragged her back to the shore. Her eyes were red and stinging from the salt water. I wrapped my coat around her shivering body. "The ocean's too cold in winter," I told her. "Why don't you wait until spring?" Back then, she had just been forced into a new blended family. Her stepbrother had gone missing, and everyone was blaming her. She told me I was the reason she made it to see another spring. Eventually, she moved in my tiny apartment, a place so small you could barely turn around. I supported her on my meager salary as she worked her way through grad school, watching her go from a rookie medical examiner to one of the most respected experts in her field. She was my miracle, but even the most passionate love can be worn down by time. "System," I said, "help me leave this world. I want to go home." The car turned onto an unfamiliar street, and I instinctively opened the GPS. "Hello, I am your voice assistant, ready to provide navigation services." My hands froze on the wheel. The deep male voice was so familiar, yet it sent a strange chill down my spine. It felt like I had heard it just recently. "Speed camera ahead. Please reduce speed and drive safely." The way it said, "Ma'am, please slow down," made my blood run cold. I finally placed the voice. It was Ethan. I had given Ava this car for her 21st birthday. The very first day she drove it, she changed the GPS voice to his. "Ava," I muttered, a self-deprecating smile on my lips. "You really do love him, don't you? Down to your very bones." You were so bold, banking on the fact that I'd never met him. Setting your lover's voice as your daily GPS navigation, without a shred of shame. The system sighed softly. "Leaving is going to be painful, James. Are you sure you can't hold on a little longer?" It couldn't hide the indignation it felt on my behalf. You saved her life. You stood by her through 8 years of hardship. How could she just throw it all away without a second thought? There's no, how can she, when it comes to love? I replied. I shut off the cloying, hello, ma'am, and the car fell silent, leaving only the sound of the drizzling rain outside. After a long moment, the system spoke again. Understand. The process of leaving will be long and difficult. I'll do my best to ease the pain for you. After all, it added, in a whisper so quiet I almost missed it, I'll watch you grow up. Thank you, I said. After 9 years in this strange world, the system was the only family I had left besides Ava. It was the only one fit to choose my ending. If it's possible, I want Ava to be the one to handle my body. I want her to perform my final autopsy. That way, every corpse she cuts into from now on will carry a piece of my shadow. I parked outside the apartment complex and looked up at the constellation of lit windows, searching for the one that was ours. Around this time, Ava would usually be standing on the balcony, lost in thought. She would only turn and smile when she heard me call to her from below, before quickly retreating inside and shutting the balcony door. It was as if every extra second was a waste of her time. I never asked who she was thinking about in those moments. I never asked why even a single glance in my direction seemed like such an effort. Now, the fragile trust that held us together was completely gone. I suddenly had an urge to see the answers for myself. I opened the dashcam footage. On her monotonous route between the morgue and the hospital, there was a single deviation, a stop at a men's clothing store. Ava got out and went inside. When she emerged, she was holding an elegant gift bag. She started the car and drove back to our building, where Ethan was already waiting, leaning against her car. The moment she arrived, he pulled her into his arms. He pressed her against the hood of the car, one hand on her waist, and kissed her deeply. The ring on her finger glinted under the streetlight, a bright, mocking flash. My stomach churned. I never get carsick, but now I felt so nauseous I could barely breathe. My hand instinctively reached for the passenger seat, and my fingers brushed against a metal tie clip. It wasn't my style. A tearing pain shot up from my stomach. I doubled over, clutching my abdomen, my jaw clenched so tight my lips turned white. The pain of leaving this world was far more brutal than I had ever imagined. Cold sweat dripped from my temples as the dashcam footage continued to play. Ava, you're mine, Ethan rasped, biting her lip hard enough to draw blood. His voice was thick with satisfaction. We'll never be apart again. My temples throbbed, the pain turning my memories to mush. I remembered the cut on Ava's lip, how obvious it had been. When I'd asked, she had paused mid-bite, touched her mouth, and said casually, "Oh, I didn't even notice." I must have bitten it while eating. The recording played on, the wet sounds of their mouths, the rustle of his jacket as he wrapped her in it and lifted her into the passenger seat. It was disgusting. I threw the car door open and stumbled to a nearby trash can, heaving until only bitter bile came up. "James! James!" The system's urgent voice pulled me back from the brink. I wiped my mouth and headed upstairs. The apartment was pitch black. I didn't bother with the lights, just found my way to the sofa and sat down. System, wake me in 2 hours. I closed my eyes, letting the exhaustion and the pounding in my head take over. My head felt like it was about to split open, yet my mind was stuck on a loop, replaying those images again and again. Every frame of the footage played in slow motion in my head, every word sharp and piercing. In the recording, I could hear Ava on the phone with one of her friends, who was laughing and teasing her. "Look at you, 2 guys fighting over you," her friend said, like the star of some drama. "Every girl needs 2 roses, a red one and a white one. Keeping them both on the hook and wrapped around your finger. Now that's talent." I could picture Ava, her eyes narrowed in concentration, applying her lipstick with the precision of a surgeon. "If you want to capture a man's heart, you have to make him worship you," Ava had said. "Make him believe only you can tolerate his flaws, only you can soothe his pain. Truly understanding someone is the easiest way to make them fall for you, and the surest way to make them unable to leave." Her friend cackled on the other end of the line. "Wow, poor, broken little soul. Ava, you're more cunning than you look. Poor, broken little soul." She was talking about my dysfunctional family and about the hell Ethan had been through. Things that weren't our fault, but it branded us both as damaged goods. In that instant, it felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped over my head. The warmth I had once cherished so deeply was gone, leaving only a chilling cold. I realized then that heartbreak isn't about the separation itself. It's the sudden, gut-wrenching discovery that the person you've loved for so long was wearing a mask the entire time. You never truly knew them at all. The disconnection process from the system began silently. I hadn't had a fever in years. I rummaged through the medicine cabinet before remembering that ever since Ethan returned, Ava had been carrying all our medication with her. When one bottle ran out, she never bothered to replace it. I kept meaning to buy more myself, but I put it off for 3 days, and suddenly, it was the day of our divorce. I felt my forehead, it was burning up. I sighed. Ava was desperate for this divorce, and I didn't want to be the one holding her back. If I died now, before the divorce was finalized, I'd be buried as her beloved husband. The thought was laughable. I didn't want my final journey to be tainted by that lie. I was too weak from the fever to drive, so I dragged myself to the side of the road to wait for a cab. School was just letting out, and a swarm of chattering kids flooded the sidewalk as traffic backed up. I weakly raised my hand, hoping a cab might spot me, so I wouldn't have a shout. But before I could hail one, my body gave out. The world started spinning, my vision went black, and then there was nothing. When I opened my eyes, there was a sweet taste in my mouth. A little girl with pigtails was holding a lollipop out to me, her eyes wide with concern. "Mister, are you okay?" "My mommy want to get a grown-up," she said. "Don't be scared. She faints sometimes too, and candy helps." She must have thought I had low blood sugar, just like her mom. The sweetness melted on my tongue, and the pain seemed to recede. "I'm sorry," the system's voice said, laced with guilt. "If only I had more clearance." I shook my head, managing a weak smile. "I'm fine, thank you." "I don't blame you," I thought, directing the words to the system. But its voice remained full of remorse. In the distance, the wail of an ambulance grew closer. A woman in a white dress helped me sit up, her voice steady. "You fainted," she said. "You hit the back of your head when you fell." No wonder it was throbbing. "How are you feeling now? Should I stay with you?" Seeing the genuine concern in her eyes, I felt a pang of guilt. "I'm really okay. I could get myself to the hospital. Thank you for calling the ambulance." Arguing now would only worry her more, so I let the paramedics guide me onto the stretcher and into the ambulance. I clutched the back of my head as waves of pain made my body go numb. As the paramedics helped me into the ambulance, my phone vibrated. It was Ava. She almost never called, only texted. She must have been getting impatient. I stared at her name on the screen for a moment, then calmly rejected the call. I sent her a short text. "Hospitalized with a fever." I attached my location. She had made me wait for 2 hours at the courthouse. This time it was her turn. By the time a furious Avis stormed into the hospital, I was already hooked up to N4, quietly reading a book. She threw the door to my room open with a bang. I looked up at her and said slowly, "Sorry, being sick held me up. We'll have to reschedule. You can go home." My flat, emotionless tone made her grit her teeth. She knew, of course, that I was throwing her own words right back at her. She glanced at the 4 in my hand and scoffed. "Still playing sick for sympathy? James, can you stop being so childish?" The accusatory look in her eyes made me laugh out loud. She couldn't fool me, but she had clearly done a magnificent job of fooling herself. How else could she say such things with a straight face? "James!" Seeing me laugh, her expression darkened. She pulled out her compact to touch up her makeup, her words spilling out in a rush. "How many times do I have to explain this? We've been together for 8 years. Isn't that enough for you to trust me? Ethan is my stepbrother. Did you want me to just stand by and watch him suffer? I can't be as cold-hearted as you, James." I closed my book. "You're right," I said softly. "I am cold-hearted. Cold-hearted enough to willingly carry a burden for 8 years. Ava was stunned into silence. She gently cupped my face. "You've gotten so thin," she whispered, her voice suddenly soft. The shift caught me off guard. I didn't know what to say. "I'll go get you some soup. Make sure you eat it all, okay? Every time you push yourself like this, you end up with a splitting headache. I worked so hard to get you healthy, Don't do this to yourself. It had been so long since she had shown me such tenderness. For a moment, I almost felt like we were back where we started. Back to a time when it was just the two of us, when her eyes held no one else's reflection. James, believe me or not, you're the only one I love, she said. I'm only helping Ethan because I owe him. It's just an act. I'm not really going to divorce you. Please don't be angry. She closed her eyes, waiting for me to lean in and kiss her like I always did. Instead, I just sighed. Ava, remember, take tomorrow off. We're getting a divorce. She must have thought I'd caved because she didn't seem to notice the kiss that never came. She just smiled. You'll always be my favorite, she said. I was just so tired before. The longer this dragged on, the more exhausted I felt. It had to end. Ignoring the doctor's repeated warnings, I insisted on being discharged. This time, neither of us backed out. I waited for her in the driver's seat. She went for the passenger door like always, but found it was locked. She paused, looking at me. I forced a smile. It's more comfortable in the back. She didn't say a word, just walked around and got into the back seat, not bothering to question it. At the county clerk's office, the divorce papers were signed without a single hitch. It was so straightforward that even the clerk seemed surprised. The moment the paperwork was done, it started to rain. A light drizzle at first, but it quickly grew heavier. The system's voice echoed in my head. James, you're going to die today. This might be the last time you ever see Ava. Is there anything you want to say to her? Its voice was tinged with anticipation, as if it was hoping I would finally let loose. I thought for a moment, then turned to Ava. It's raining. Do you want to ride? If she would just grant me this last shred of decency, I would tell her the truth to her face. That I was her guide, and that I was leaving for good. She opened her mouth to answer, but her phone rang. Even though she tried to hide the screen, I saw the name. Ethan. His voice was hoarse, laced with a desperate sob. Ava, where are you? It's starting to rain, and I'm scared. Can you please come be with me? A flash of lightning lit up the sky, and in the next instant, he screamed like a cornered animal. Don't hit me. I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Please don't hit me. I'm on my way, she said into the phone. With that one sentence, her choice was made. Ethan had gotten lost in the rain as a child, and the trauma had left a permanent scar. He needs me, she said to me. James, you should go home. Her voice was gentle, but the finality in it left no room for argument. Okay, I said, and turned to walk into the rain. Behind me, I faintly heard her whisper, goodbye. I didn't look back. I didn't answer, because we both knew we would never see each other again. This goodbye was final. The rain soaked my hair as I wiped the water from my phone screen. The time was 5:09 p.m., but the sky was so dark it felt like the world was ending. I stood on the same street where I had collapsed earlier, watching headlights streak past. Then I heard a familiar child's voice. Miss, how much farther is it? My mommy's going to worry if I'm late. I've always had a good ear for voices, and I recognized it instantly. I turned around, and sure enough, it was the little girl who had given me the lollipop. Only this time, the hand holding hers didn't belong to the woman in the white dress. On instinct, I canceled the Uber I had just called. System, I called out of my mind, but there was no answer. An icy dread crawled up my spine. If the system was right, I was going to die today, and I would end up on Ava's autopsy table, which meant my death wouldn't be an accident. It would be murder. All 5 of the recent murders had happened on rainy nights. The victims were all young men and women, and the methods were horrifyingly brutal. I remembered the news reports and the system's ominous warning. James, choosing to leave will be extremely painful. My mind was still racing, but my body was already moving. I hurried after them. The person leading the little girl was short and rail-thin, wearing a baggy hoodie. Their lips were a bloodless white. They turned into a deserted alley flanked by derelict, half-finished buildings. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hello, I'm on Cypress Creek Lane, the north end of Alley B, I whispered into the phone. In the empty alley, the only sound was our splashing footsteps. I faltered, but the footsteps behind me kept coming, steady and unhurried. I didn't dare look back. I just lunged forward and shoved the person in the hoodie away from the little girl. Who the hell are you? I yelled. Where are you taking this kid? Do you even know her? The person froze, their lips trembling as their whole body started to shake. I put my hands on the little girl's shoulders, my throat tight. "Run," I said. "Run straight to the end of this alley, turn right, and don't stop until you see the security booth. Tell the guard to call the police." She just stared at me, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. "What are you waiting for? Go!" She stumbled, turned, and ran, her small figure quickly vanishing at the end of the alley. "She got away," a deep male voice said from behind me. "Which means you're not leaving here today." The voice was filled with the cruel excitement of a predator playing with its prey. Even though I had been expecting it, an involuntary shiver ran through me. I slowly turned to see a man whose face was mostly hidden by the hood of a red raincoat. The air smelled of rust and the faint, coppery tang of blood. A cold blade plunged into my back. My phone slipped from my grasp, its screen still glowing with the call I had just made in 911. The line went dead. My vision blurred with pain. With my last ounce of strength, I pulled the small box cutter from my pocket and thrust it blindly behind me. I heard a muffled grunt. "See you in hell," I gasped, and then I heard the sound of a blade sinking into flesh again. It hurt, but it wasn't the soul-tearing agony I had expected. "James, are you okay?" the system's voice said, sounding distant. "I've just elevated my permissions to help you complete the departure. Your physical body is now blocking all further pain." The voice seemed to be coming from a world away. My dim vision cleared, and I watched as several men began to dismember my body. "Don't watch," the system said. "I'm switching your view to that cheater." The image froze, then shifted. Now, I was looking at Ava. She was holding an umbrella while Ethan clung to her, shaking. "He's close," Ethan whimpered. I can hear his footsteps, his breathing, the sound of the knife. The distraught Ethan tightened his grip, pulling Ava closer. "Don't be afraid," she soothed. "I'm here. No one's going to hurt you." Ava rested her head on his chest, about to say more, when he suddenly kissed her. They clung to each other in the rain, lost in their own world. Just 2 blocks away, my dismembered limbs were being stuffed into the trunk of a car, a bloody, unrecognizable mess. "Disgusting," the system muttered. I swallowed my bitterness, watching Ethan's possessive display. "System," I asked slowly, "if the Rainy Night Rider has 2 accomplices, one to lure and one to kill, how did someone as weak as Ethan survive the first attack?" The system was silent. The person helping the killer tonight was clearly an amateur. They panicked and let the little girl get away too easily. So before tonight, who was the bait? Who lured 3 women and 1 man to their deaths, only to vanish without a trace right under the cops' noses? Who could have been? After I disappeared, Ava couldn't reach my phone. Ethan trailed behind her, his face a mask of feigned concern. "Ava, did you do something to make him angry? Just ignore him. You know how he gets." Ava shoved her phone into her pocket, her expression unreadable. Ethan, meanwhile, was counting on his fingers. "Ava," he muttered, "when are we getting married? Is it tomorrow?" Ava's reply was swift. "The doctor said you can be discharged tomorrow. As soon as you're out, we'll get married. By then, your memory should be mostly back." Ethan kept his gentle smile, but it never reached his eyes. "You really want me to remember everything, don't you?" "Of course," she started. "After all," he cut her off. "After all, I'm your boyfriend, right?" A smile played on his lips, but his hand was clenched so tightly around the bedsheet that his knuckles were white. Their wedding was a grand affair, but pathetically empty. No family from either side attended. Only a few of Ava's friends were there. The lavish ballroom, the custom rings, everything I had ever wanted to give her, now belonged to Ethan. When Ava and I got married at the courthouse, we were broke. I had saved for 6 months just to afford a decent loft apartment. Every penny left went to her wedding dress, the one she had always dreamed of. But when she held the bouquet, there was no real joy in her eyes. I never blamed her. Our wedding had no blessings from our parents, no rowdy friends, nothing. It was as simple as it could get, but it was everything I had to give her at the time. Even so, I was filled with guilt that I couldn't give the woman I loved with all my heart the wedding she deserved. I had promised her that one day I would give her the grandest wedding imaginable. But that promise had a condition, that we would never grow tired of each other. The floral arrangements, the designer for the dress, even booking her favorite concert pianist, I had arranged it all. Every detail of the wedding Ava was having now was something I had planned. The only difference was the groom's name on the invitation. Do you take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, remaining faithful to him for as long as you both shall live? The officiant's words made Ava subconsciously touch her ring finger. The ring she had only recently taken off had left a faint, pale mark. I've already disposed of all of that cheater's belongings, the system announced, a hint of pride in its voice. Photos, memories, possessions. I've erased every trace of you. In this entire world, Ava is the only one who will remember your name. Thank you, I said. A hot sting filled my eyes, and I couldn't hold back the tears. This was the deal I'd made with the system when I first arrived. Arrive quietly, leave with dignity. I will be the one to erase my own footprint from this world. I do, Ava said, her eyes downcast, avoiding Ethan's gaze. In that moment, was she feeling guilty for betraying me or for deceiving him? I would never know. The officiant turned to Ethan and repeated the question. Holding the bouquet, Ethan began to answer softly, I. He was cut off by a sharp, cold voice. Ethan Carter, you're under arrest as an accomplice in multiple homicides. Please come with us. Gasps erupted throughout the ballroom as police officers moved in to secure the scene. It was you, Ava hissed, her voice stripped of all its usual gentleness. No wonder the rainy night rider was never caught. You were his accomplice. Ethan, how could you help the man who did that to you? Doesn't it make you sick? Ethan let out a cold laugh. Listen to yourself. You think you're any better? Your talent is just making men willingly walk into a trap for you, isn't it? Truly understanding someone is the easiest way to make them fall for you, and the surest way to make them unable to leave. Making two men tear each other apart for you. Ava, isn't that what you live for? You think you have the right to judge me? Ava's face went white. She covered her mouth in shock because he was quoting her own words back to her, verbatim. Her hand was shaking so badly she nearly knocked over a glass. Your husband sent me that recording, Ethan sneered. He knows me better than you do. He knew I'd be watching your every move. He then grabbed the glass and threw the contents right in her face. The amnesia? I made it all up. I only got close to you because being a victim was the perfect cover. It let me hide in plain sight, right under the noses of the police. Did you really think I could ever love you? His voice was ice, his eyes pure hatred. My dear, sweet Ava, you were the one who lured me away with candy. You left me on the side of the road until it got dark. If it weren't for you, I never would have been kidnapped. I never would have been locked in that monster's house, used as bait for his killings. You ruined my life. So, in return, I'm going to make yours a living hell. Ethan's smile was a grotesque mask. As the police tackled him to the ground, he kept his crazed eyes locked on Ava, each word a poisoned dart aimed at her heart. James isn't coming back, he spat. James was the real target, and the writer never misses. The beautiful wedding devolved into a chaotic circus. The would-be bride and groom began tearing each other apart right there on the floor. What a delightful spectacle, the system commented dryly in my ear. Do eat do. The show's not over yet, I said calmly. Someone like Ava won't believe I'm gone until she sees the body. Her greatest talent is lying to herself. And just as I predicted, for the next few days, Ava kept messaging me. Apologies, threats, declarations of love. When I was alive, I was lucky to get one text a day from her. Now, it was like a dam had broken, all the words left unsaid for years flooding my inbox. She never got a reply, until the day the police pulled a body from the river. It was bloated and so badly decomposed that the face was unrecognizable. A few of the younger cops on the scene had to turn away and throw up. In contrast, Ava was chillingly calm. Prep for autopsy, she ordered. The victim's limbs had been cleanly severed. The eye sockets were hollow. The dismemberment was a clear signature of the rainy night rider. The moment she lifted the sheet, a putrid stench filled the air. Her new intern, holding a scalpel for the first time, clapped a hand over her mouth and ran from the room, gagging. "Dr. Thompson is incredible," someone whispered. Even the chief Emmy gets chilled from a rainy night rider case, but she doesn't even flinch. That's why she's a prodigy. Takes on a serial killer case right out of her fellowship and insists on doing the full workup herself. Ava took the scalpel and cut through the tattered clothing, peeling back rotten flesh and skin. The body showed signs of extreme violence, with multiple bone fractures. Her hand froze midair. There, on the corpse's shoulder blade, was a faded black rose tattoo. She recognized it instantly. It was the one she had given me herself. Her father had been drunk that day, screaming that she was a disgrace, a curse on their family. For the first time ever, Ava had fought back. "You brought this on yourself. You're the one who cheated on Mom. You're the one who destroyed our family. Now your mistress is dead and her son is gone. In the end, you'll have nothing." I didn't catch what she muttered next. A second later, her father grabbed a bottle and swung it at her head. She had work the next day, so I jumped in front of her. The bottle shattered against my shoulder, leaving a deep, ugly wound. Only much later did I understand what she had whispered in that moment. "I ruined your family, too. So now we're even, right?" No wonder. No wonder she always said she owed Ethan. To get back at her cheating father, she had taken her anger out on the stepbrother she claimed to adore, nearly sacrificing his life for her revenge. I watched as the scalpel in Ava's hand began to tremble. Her pupils dilated, and she breathed my name in a choked, disbelieving whisper. "James!" The autopsy report for that body was never finished. For the first time in her career, the woman who was known for her ruthless composure dropped her scalpel and frantically dialed a number that would never again connect. "No," she muttered to herself. "It can't be him. James is just angry with me. He wouldn't just ignore me. He wouldn't." What finally shattered her denial was the recording of my 911 call and the record of my final, unanswered call to her. Clutching my shattered phone, Ava let out a dry, bitter laugh. The system scoffed, but I waved it away. There was one last gift for her in our message history. A single, unsent draft. Goodbye. She must have read that single word dozens of times, until her tears blurred the screen and the letters dissolved into a meaningless smudge. The phone's battery finally died, the screen going dark for good. And with that last flicker of light, the final trace of my existence in this world vanished. I could finally go home. There was nothing left to tie me here. "Those extra 3 years of life you got," the system said softly, "I moved heaven and earth to give them to you." Its voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. I checked. Your tumor was still in the early stages. I even found the best specialist for you. James, you were my first friend. You have to live a good life. And don't you dare forget me. You hear me? Of course not, I said. I smiled. You're my family, the one who was with me for 9 years. You were my only home in this world. I protected a killer's accomplice. And in doing so, I lost the man who stood by me for 8 years. When the bloated, decomposed body was laid on my table, I thought it was just another case. Until I saw the tattoo, swollen and distorted by the water. The black rose on James's shoulder. His flower. My black rose. But my James was still alive. He had to be. He was just angry with me. I would apologize, and everything would be fine. He still owed me a proper wedding. Throughout my entire wedding to Ethan, all I could think about was James. It never once occurred to me that he was already dead. That the moment he walked out of that courthouse and into the rain, he was gone forever. And I had been the one to decline his final call. The little girl he saved said he was attacked just one street over from where I was standing with Ethan. I knew the rainy night rider's MO better than anyone. When James asked if I wanted a ride, I hesitated, but I still chose to walk away. I once told him I only look to the future. Now, my greatest regret is that I didn't turn back, that I didn't reach out and take his hand. I fled home. Abandoning an autopsy was a serious breach of protocol. I could be suspended or even lose my license. But I didn't care. I had to find him. He had been with me for 8 years. He promised he would always be there. But now he was nowhere. It was as if he had been a dream, vanishing without a trace the moment I woke up. Our photos, our memories, everything. It was all gone, leaving only me. I thought I was going insane. I started asking everyone I met, "Have you seen James?" And I always got the same blank, confused stare in return. "Who's James?" "The man I love," I'd say. "My husband." "Ava, are you under too much stress? Your fiancé was Ethan, remember? Even if he's in jail, you don't need to invent some imaginary person to cope." "Yeah, who would stick around for 8 years without any commitment?" His name was James Miller, and from the moment he pulled me from the ocean, he had never once left my side. I thought he would never leave me. He was real, I know he was, but no one remembered his name or his face. Even my neighbor, who saw him every day, could only say, "I think I remember a guy. Wasn't he the one who got arrested?" I suddenly remembered something James used to say, that he had arrived quietly and would leave the same way, without trace. He called himself my guide, and said that if I ever stopped loving him, he would disappear and never return. He had never lied to me. I was the one who refused to believe. If I had just believed him, maybe I could have kept him. A sudden scream from next door yanked me back to the present. My temples throbbed, and I tasted something metallic and sweet in the back of my throat. I raised a hand to my nose. It came away wet with blood. I was diagnosed with syphilis. The source, of course, was Ethan. He had preyed on my guilt, making me dependent on his need for me, dragging me down into a civic session. He knew exactly how to manipulate my emotions, how to push my buttons until I lost control. I should have said no. The last time I saw him, I stood on the other side of the visiting room glass and said one word: "Good." A dirty woman with a dirty disease. It was a perfect match. Ethan was sentenced to death, but not before he became the key witness who brought down the real killer. The little boy who used to trail after me, calling my name, had become a monster that made my skin crawl. "Do you remember James?" I asked him. He laughed so hard he bent in half. "Who?" he cackled. "Your boy toy? Why the hell would I remember his name? Are you crazy? Asking me something so stupid?" They told me the identity of the sixth victim was still unknown. A John Doe. No matter how hard I fought, I was not allowed to claim his ashes. It was as if he knew this would happen. On his phone, he had left a final request, that his remains be entrusted to the family of the little girl he saved. I went to the girl's mother, begged her to let me have the ashes. She just looked at me and asked, "If you were really his wife, why wasn't your name mentioned anywhere in his final wishes?" Because he never wanted to see me again. He had said goodbye. Eventually, I ended up back at the police station, this time as a suspect. The charge was assault. I had gotten into a fight with a mother. She claimed it was self-defense when she smashed a vase over the back of my head. As the pain exploded through my skull, I finally understood. There was no one left to jump in front of me and take the hit. As my health deteriorated, I started seeing him everywhere. He was in another world, a better one. A world where he had loving parents, supportive friends, and a girl who secretly left flowers right there. He was never truly mine to begin with. "Do you regret it?" A mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "I regret it," I sobbed. "I want him back. I just want to see him one more time." I begged the voice, pleaded with him. All I got in return was a cold, metallic laugh. "Then you will carry that regret for the rest of your life. After all, I'm going to make you feel every ounce of pain James ever felt. The sickness, the cognitive decline, the physical decay. You will lose the use of those hands you were so proud of. You will drown in a sea of hallucination and reality. Ava, you should never have betrayed me." The system's voice was ice. As his family, I am extremely protective. You picked the wrong person to hurt. This is not just a story of love and betrayal, but a reflection on self-redemption. James's tragedy was placing his entire self-worth in the hands of another. His final act of letting go was not an end, but the beginning of reclaiming himself. If this resonates with you, remember this. Walking away with clarity isn't surrender. It's an act of mercy and salvation for yourself. Before you can be a light for anyone else, you must first learn to light your own lamp.